Howdy, howdy, and welcome to another wonderful Trash Take. Today, I'm going to be talking about Germany and something funny I saw on their Twitter for censorship yet again. So, for those of you who don't know, I made a video a few days ago about the Germany free speech violations and the 60-minute interview that they did, where they sat down for some German prosecutors, and the prosecutors were really giddy to talk about how they basically throw people, take people's devices and give them heavy fines when they offend someone online. In Germany, they have free speech, which they consider no longer free speech if you call someone stupid, idiot, fat, ugly, any sort of insults, or offending someone. And that's where it comes into. It's more offending someone. So what is happening in Germany right now is a lot of organizations are basically kind of on the border of whether or not they are in violation, because like the AfD party, the right-wing party in Germany, they don't want immigrants coming into their country. So you can argue that saying, I don't want immigrants here is going to offend those immigrants. And then those immigrants can use that policy against you to get your to get you fined and to get your devices removed from your household, which seems pretty stupid and an obviously big flaw in their free speech democracy. But why does this matter? Well, apparently Germany had actually had two organizations sue for complete and unfiltered access to everyone's real-time posting data on Twitter. And a judge approved it. So a judge in Germany basically could violate my privacy rights because they decide to be an activist, essentially what it boils down to. Now, I'm not just calling them an activist. They are actually an activist judge. Now, let me show you. Bold claim for me to make on my own, but thankfully I have something to back it up. This is the Global Government Affairs Twitter account. It's a Twitter account that mainly goes over all the different issues with freedom of speech around the world. Since Elon's taken over Twitter, he's been a big proponent of freedom of speech. And there's a lot of censorship governments out there that want Twitter to put their hand on the scales of justice and start censoring political opponents or an opposition when they view them as a threat to their power. ADF has been a big proponent too in Germany, and a lot of the Germans don't like it and they want them censored. If you don't believe me, look at the EU. And Elon Musk was going to have the AfD leadership on a Twitter space. The EU would pre-wrote a letter saying, hey, you might be in violation of these Germany laws. We might have to censor you, fair warning. Like, that's kind of wild that before conversations even being held, they're already talking about censoring Elon Musk for it, which is very, very much, I'd say, not freedom of speech. I don't care what the Germans say with their whole politics or their whole polls about we're rated the most free speech in the world when it's stupid. No, so I don't care about your self-appointed awards. So this Twitter post, I'm just going to read to give you some more background. X is challenging a decision from a judge from a Berlin regional court that egregiously undermines our fundamental right to due process and threatens the privacy rights and freedom of speech of our users. Two organizations, Democracy Reporting International and Global Law for Shaw, have brought proceedings against X to get unrestricted access to X's real-time data and the users' posts on the platform for a supposed research project in advance of the German election. So I was curious, what are they trying to find out? Couldn't really find an answer to that. The first group, Democracy Reporting International, is just like a bunch of poll watchers from what it looked like. So it looks like they mainly go to polls and make sure the polls are secure, safe, there's no fraud among the people counting the votes. I assume that's what it kind of seems like. Their website was really vague. But the second website, the German one, I went to, I Google Translated, and that's the very first thing I see, is the AfD unconstitutional. So then at that point, I'm thinking that this is just an activist group, not an actual research group. That they want user data to more than likely dox or get some of these AfD members probably reported to figure out what their Twitter accounts are, and any ones that they think might be violating free speech, get them thrown in jail. That's what this looks like to me, is they're trying to do political intimidation. That is how I view this. This seems like a lot of intimidation because, like I said, Germany doesn't have free speech. If you offend someone online, they will come to your house and seize your devices and fine you. And then you got to buy a new device. Basically, your devices are seized. I don't know if you can actually get them back. I don't care about Germany law. I haven't researched it. From what I saw in that 60-minute interview, no, it seems like it's theirs permanently because it was used in a crime. So, kind of wild, right? That a judge would grant this. Well, if you keep reading on here, it's there's a reason why the judge granted it. Yeah, them getting unrestricted user access data should automatically give them extreme pause. Like, hey, this is pretty wild. Like, this shouldn't be allowed. But why would the judge do this? Because the judge actually used to work on the company. They used to work for this group. The worse, however, it also transpires that the sole judge in the case previously worked for the organization funding the research project, along with the lawyers still employed by this group who are representing the applicants. That sounds like a pretty big conflict of interest to me. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds like a pretty big conflict of interest to me. The people that used to employ you bringing a case forward as you as a judge, you don't immediately recuse yourself because that is a major conflict of interest. How are you supposed to be a judge which is supposed to give an impartial judgment against a law being violated? One of the groups bringing a request to the courts is to get full access when you used to work for them. That seems like a pretty big More activist than judge moment. That's an activist instead of a judge, basically. And yeah, they also go on to say this is a ruling of our fundamental rights to the due process that are granted by the German Constitution, and X is committed to committing it. Yeah. Elon Musk basically said, no, we're going to fight this. And they actually won, at least for now. And the more recent post, which is what I saw that actually got me interested in this, a German regional court granted X's request to remove a judge from the case after the judge had ordered X to turn over the data to certain activist organizations. The court found the judge was not impartial because he had previously been employed by one of the activist organizations and positively engaged with them on social media. And I gotta say, I agree with the Germany regional courts. It sounds like a pretty big conflict of interest to me. It seems like there's a lot of like doxing going on in today's modern age with leftist activists, at least happening in America. And me seeing this makes me think it's going on in the world too. If you don't believe me, look at the Doge department. The Doge kids, if you will. Within like a day of that department being announced of them going in and starting to slash funding, a bunch of Redditors had already posted their entire identities, their pictures, their full names, their address, and then were making death threats against them and calling for them to be killed and hung in the street. That was another video I previously made. Fucking crazy. I don't think ever handing over personal user data with blanket access should ever be allowed unless there is a serious issue, unless there is a serious reason for it. And I don't see how any way, shape, or form anyone with common sense would allow a political activist group that is doing research to get blanket access to user data. It would ever be considered a good idea. This seems like it's a very obvious attempt of political intimidation, and I genuinely don't know what a judge would be thinking, yeah, they're allowed to it. And now, like I said, I don't know what research they're trying to do. It could be just seeing the data of when they're posting, where they're posting, but even that, like I said, it's private information. A company doesn't have to turn that over. You have privacy rights, whether you live in America or Europe. There's privacy rights all over the world because of how crazy some of these organizations are and how willy-nilly they're willing to hand them over anywhere. If you don't believe me, look at what's also happening in the UK. The UK had just previously sued Apple to get full access to get full unrestricted access to Apple's iCloud service. Basically, they wanted to have every picture in your iCloud readily available for their peruse, which is wild. Like, there's so many privacy rights violations going on in the world. It's kind of crazy. Whether it's not freedom of speech, whether it's your privacy just getting thrown in the trash, this seems kind of wild to me. But I just want to make a video on that because I just talked about Germany and their crazy free speech issues. And now it turns out that it's not just stopping there with the police. It's also the courts are doing it too, which I guess makes sense. There's no way you'd be able to issue a warrant on someone to go raid their house unless you probably had a judge sign off on it. I assume the legal process is kind of the same across the world. Could be a little different. I don't know Germany law. I do not care. I'm adding this in the post edit, but I just wanted to add clarification. I was calling this a left-wing activist group, and there was a reason why, and I should have showed this page too. This is further deeper into their website, and they talk more about the AFD, and here's a paragraph that they have about if they should be allowed or not. This much is clear. Many in the ADF question the guarantee of human dignity and basic rights. The rhetoric is often racist, anti-Muslim, and endangers people. So, that to me sounds like a left-wing activist group. Why? Because in American politics, if you say you voted for Trump because say you want secure borders, you're immediately called racist, xenophobic, anti-American, retarded, Nazi. It's the same sort of thing. So me reading this paragraph makes me very much believe this is a left-wing activist group that wants this research, that wants complete blanket access to Twitter. I just wanted to add that in there for a clarification. I kept calling them a left-wing activist group, and this is why. Because I read this looks like American left-wing activism has been influenced over here. And I did look into them just a little more because I want to put on my tinfoil hat. I couldn't see any trace of U.S. aid touching this organization. Maybe there are some shell companies USAID put some money through into Europe, but there's no direct link from USAID to this company. Just because I know USAID's the boogeyman right now of causing all the problems in the world with free speech violations, and this looks like a group that definitely wants free speech gone. So, but I do care when I do care when a German left-wing activist group wants to get access to everyone's user data on Twitter, and was probably going to use it to either censor or probably try to oppress the political party they don't like. Fucking crazy to me that it could even be brought in front of a court, and even wilder to me that it got approved. That judge definitely needs to step the fuck down, but I don't know how Germany works. Judges here in America rarely step down when they do anything bad until they get basically re-elected. Most judges here are either handpicked or elected. That's just how it works in America. And political activists are everywhere, and I really hate that in the world. People who are supposed to be a government job that you're supposed to trust is going to do the right thing are going to put their own political bias in front of their career. And it's happening all over. It's the reason Trump's going through with all of these departments under Doge and slashing them apart. Because basically the reason they found out with US aid is that Trump issued a bunch of executive orders. So all they did was wait to see which department was ignoring the most executive orders and start there. That's how they went to US aid. That's what Elon said on Twitter. They just waited to see which department was stupid enough to start defying his orders at a large scale and then start there. Because there are political activists everywhere. That's just the modern age, is everyone doing what they can to promote whatever bias they have. I don't know. People are apparently really fucking stupid in today's modern society, but that's no real that's nothing new, I guess. But yeah, I just want to make this to rant more about Germany and their free speech, and I find it funny that every day the Germany free speech is even less free than I thought. But thank you guys very much for tuning in. If you liked the video, feel free to like the video, comment down below, or subscribe to my channel. I make a lot of like random crap like this now just because I'm bored and I feel like the world's on fire, so I might as well turn the camera on and see what happens. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful time, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, later.